I'm Rick Smith, and this is my stepping story. Kate Jones asked me to talk for a moment about a worship song that means a lot to me. The song I selected is called Surrounded. Some know it as This Is How I Fight My Battles. And it has really spoken about my Christian experience the last few years and the Christian experience of my family. The opening lines say, "There's a table that you've prepared for me in the presence of my enemies. It's your blood and body for me. This is how I fight my battles." The word enemies has a lot of meanings to a lot of people. We usually think of an enemy as being people or a person. In this case, the song says something else to me about an enemy. On December 23rd, 2016, I arrived home from work. With hope for a nice 4-day weekend, our youngest son, Parker, 18 years old at the time, had been released from the hospital the night before. He was in the throes of a really awful opioid addiction. We had agreed to let him spend one more day at his apartment. He asked for that. His best friend was coming into town from out of town and was going to bring Parker's girlfriend over. They were going to visit with him, then bring him to our house. And we'd get him for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then Parker had agreed to go into rehab to get help for his addiction. About 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Julie's phone rang. It was Parker's girlfriend on the other end. I could hear her talking really loud, and she said, "Miss Julie, come quick. Parker's body is cold, and he's not breathing." Julie and I rushed into the car and rushed to Parker's apartment. You know how dark and cold late December nights can be. As we crested the hill to go down to the back of the apartment complex where he was, it was kind of a surreal scene. There were about a dozen emergency vehicles there. There were so many we had to park back about 50 yards away from his apartment. I rushed ahead of Julie, just trying to get there first, and there were 4 policemen standing across the breezeway leading to his apartment. I rushed up to them. I said, "I'm Parker Smith's father." They just looked at me, and a moment later, I heard Julie's footsteps behind me, and one of the officers looked over my shoulder and said, "Are you Parker's mother?" And she said, "I'm Parker Smith's mother." And he said, "I'm very sorry for your loss, ma'am. I'm very sorry for your loss." And at that moment, we met a new enemy. Grief and loss and sorrow. We stayed a couple more hours as the emergency people did what they needed to do. We prayed over Parker's body with the men from the coroner's office. And then we went home. Just moments after we got home, 2 cars pulled up, 2 ladies from our church, and they came in and stayed with us, kept us company into the wee hours of the morning, supporting us. We went to bed, and then very early the next morning it started. We had texts and phone calls and doorbell ringing and a steady stream of people. This went on for days. A few days after Christmas, our older son Corey was supposed to go to Breakthrough. We were really hesitant about that, but I remember Chris Consowitz saying, we'll keep him busy, and we'll surround him with love. And there's a line in the song says, "It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you." And at that time, I realized how surrounded we were. This love and surrounding continued on for days and weeks and months, and even continues on to this day. The 139th Psalm, verse 5 says, "And you have surrounded me on every side, before me and behind me, and you have laid your hand gently on my shoulder." And for some, that's a metaphor. For my family, it's a real-life experience. For God has laid his hand gently upon our shoulders, bringing us grace and peace. And the people of this church have done the same, bringing us sustenance and comfort. And for that, we're very and forever grateful. Amen.